Hi, I'm Leon and I'm working on this small gardening game called Golembert. The viewer Vladres asked for more mechanic and gameplay content, and that's why I'm quickly going through all of Golembert's main mechanics and their current state today. Shortly summed up, Golembert's main mechanics are plant management, compost transformation, dialogue processing and questing, potion crafting, Herbit expedition management, and trading/bartering. Half of these are traditional farming sim mechanics that we twisted a bit or reiterated completely, so they correspond to our more management and less industrial gameplay vision. The other half are non-farming sim mechanics we came up with or saw in other games that are complementary to the former. So let's walk right through them. Number 1. Plant management. We wanted the plant management part of our game to feel a bit more individual and diverse and less like machining something down. Therefore, each plant has 3 different stats: water, soil or fertilizer, and neighborhood. These stats are dynamic, meaning their values tick down every 15 in-game minutes in varying degrees. This makes it possible to have different stat zones for ideal, neutral or bad states. Here's an example to make things less abstract. A strawberry's watering state is bad when its watering stat is between 0 and 10, underwatered, or 90 and 100, overwatered. The same applies to its soil/fertilization stat. Its ideal watering zone is 35 to 75, so pretty generous considering that it consumes 0.25 water per tick/15 in-game minutes, leading to a water consumption of 24 per day, because a day has 96 ticks/15 minute intervals. Its ideal soil/fertilization zone, on the other hand, is pretty narrow, 25 to 35. That means a strawberry will not tick below its ideal watering state within a day if you watered it perfectly in the morning, while you have to triple check on its soil every day to sustain an ideal soil state. Less mathematic is a plant's neighborhood stat. It simply considers all plants within a specific radius around the plant on change, meaning when you sow a seed or harvest a crop. It checks whether it likes or dislikes this plant and adds or subtracts 1 from its current neighborhood score accordingly. If any of the plant's stats is in a bad zone or negative score, the plant will stop growing until you resolve the situation by watering/fertilizing the plant or influencing its neighborhood through replanting crops or magical potions. Besides ticking down its watering and soil stats, a plant also evaluates its current states on every tick and keeps the data for its yield calculation. The stereotypical yield tiers gold, silver, bronze and regular are based on the plant's state's lifetime percentages. A gold tier strawberry, for example, mustn't have had a single bad state in their lifetime, and 90% of their lifetime evaluations must have been ideal for watering and fertilization, and gold tier for neighborhood on yield. Oof, that was a lot of logic. Why all that hassle? Because it leads to a more dynamic gameplay. While some of your plants are easy to manage, others will need special attention. Some will easily yield high tiers by simply placing sprinklers next to them, while others need a hand-picked neighborhood of like neighbors for the same output. These different ways of caring for crops paints a more humane and complex picture of gardening that others, even more casual games, never care to convey. But we do. These basic complexities also lead to interesting gameplay considerations. Placing plants in pots or raised beds reduces their neighborhood consideration to their container, for example. But it also reduces the maximum number of neighbors and therefore the maximum score, which leads to the need of artificially boosting pot plant neighborhoods through potions for higher positive neighborhood scores. A raised bed, for example, has space for 3 plants, and a gold tier strawberry needs a +4 neighborhood. Tricky, ain't? If you find yourself playing our game some sweet day in the future, maybe at the end of next year, and you have any question about the in-game gardening, you can right-click the Herbit and ask them/scroll through their FAQ. Other NPCs will address other topics in their FAQs. We thought that's the best way of having as less tutorial stuff as possible and as many easy to access information points in the game. Number 2. Compost Transformation. The 3 plant stats have grand complexity differences. While neighborhood only needs big brain thinking and a shovel or self-crafted neighborhood influencing potions, your watering can always be refilled and you don't have to care about water resource management, while your soil/fertilizer is transformed by the compost from garden waste. Garden waste is generated on every crop yield harvest in the form of leaves and roots, but can really be any item with a composting value. If you discard items with a composting value, the compost will not accept items with none, on the compost pile, the compost will transform the items one at a time into soil of the lowest value, called rotting, per tick, every 15 in-game minutes, if the compost is watered. Keeping the compost watered is easier than it is with crops, because the compost doesn't have zones, for now, meaning that you can always water the compost to its max stat of 100 every day for it to keep transforming. You can then take out the rotting from the transformation cycle and use it as basic fertilizer for your plants, or you can unlock further compost chambers through item investment to transform it into post-rotting, which is halved when transformed into humus soil, which is halved when transformed into compost soil. The higher the chamber, the higher the value of the fertilizer. Rotting has a fertilization value of 1, post-rotting of 3, which results in a 50% loss adjusted value increase to rotting, humus soil of 6, a 100% value increase to post-rotting, and compost soil of 8, a 33% value increase to humus soil. You can also increase the compost pile size through item investment. Because, as you already know, a day has 96 ticks, the compost can transform 96 items per day. Therefore, the base compost pile size tier has to be well under 96, currently 25, and the last tier, currently there are only 4 tiers, has no need to be well over 96. Currently it's at 100, but it could be increased to 200. If you have any questions regarding composting while playing our game, you can click Dr. Dung Beetle in the Compost UI for more information. He will tell you the exact compost value of any selected item, for example, or how much an upgrade costs. Number 3. Dialogue processing and questing. 2 essential parts of every farming sim are their NPCs and their quests/storylines. Unlike our gardening and composting mechanics, we approach the dialogue and questing system pretty traditional. You can right-click any NPC to get a drop-down menu over their head suggesting you different interaction options. We did this to keep interactions casual. You can simply close the drop-down if you misclicked or your preferred interaction option is not available at the moment. To keep every different interaction UI clean, which also means that you cannot switch between them easily. And to make every option easy to access, in contrast to hiding the trade button within the dialogue UI or something like that. That's also why there are always different dialogue processing interaction options. An ask option, which directs to the NPC's FAQs, and a get/return quest option, which directs to the current/next quest dialogue, and /or sometimes a simple talk option, mostly for side NPCs to have a quick chat. If you enter a dialogue, you access an easy to understand talk UI with their center text and the 2 dialogue partners portrait on each side. Changing visuals like different background colors, grayed out and layer changing portraits, and the NPC specific type-out speed indicate who's talking. Dialogues are node-based and their type-out coroutine is skippable. Therefore you can progress from node to node by clicking the advance arrow or clicking anywhere in the dialogue UI. You also have the possibility to go back to previous nodes if you missed something by clicking the back arrow. The only points you cannot progress without further action are decision nodes. In them you have to select a decision/dialogue option to progress, often associated with accepting or returning a quest. When nodes are processed, they also assign all kinds of data that is attached to them. Therefore any node can assign a quest, set an in-game bool true, or gift items or friendship points. You will get notified via notification if any of that happens. Quests are displayed in your quest log, which you can access via your inventory, and in a perma quest log at the top left corner of the screen. Both logs will display further information about your current quest's progress, for example the amount of required items you already have in your inventory. Any further questions about questing you can also address in-game via Helios FAQs. Number 4. Potion crafting. We experimented with different crafting systems over the years. Our first one was a basic recipe input craft system. Our second added the idea that you had to refine your garden yields through minigame-like processing stations into crafting inputs first. And our last one added that you had to click magical signs in a specific order varying per recipe in order to craft. But none of these felt that deep, though I liked the latter. Therefore we looked into other more crafting-focused games and got inspired by the game Potion Craft, appropriate name, to try a node-based potion crafting approach, and this is how it currently looks like. It's a potion map where every step of a recipe is spatially visualized through a node that is connected to its preceding and following existing step. It reduces the use of UI to a minimum and is way more visual and more dimensional than a recipe-based crafting system. You always start in the center of the map and have just a small selection of first nodes available. If you click a node, a panel will pop up telling you how much to invest to unlock and/or craft the node's recipe. Some nodes are craftable, others are just there for you to fulfill them to navigate further. The further you progress along a recipe, the more it branches out and enables you to find and unlock other recipes. Through this setup, many recipes share the same ingredients, which resulted in the abstraction of input items. Because the main gameplay is focused around gardening, and we currently have 12 plants in 4 different yield tiers in the game, we wanted to make potion crafting less micromanaging heavy. Also, if these 12 plants would depend on seasons, which they currently don't, then most recipes would be unfulfillable most of the time. So we introduced marker items in the form of color categories per plant. Tomatoes are red, potatoes are yellow, for example. That made crafting way easier to understand. You need 4 red here and 4 yellow here, for example, while it also streamlined our overall plant concept. Before that decision, there was no clear structure in how much overall value any plant has in reference to any other plant and why. But these color categories formed natural smaller pools of plants, strawberry, tomato, pepper for red, for example, that were easy to put in an understandable value ratio to another. A thing we added after this somehow simplification of crafting to complicate it, or rather, make it more complex again, was the concept of known elements. It simply made all recipe elements except for the ones in the first couple of nodes not known at the start of the game, and therefore not visible for the player as long as they haven't inputted the required item once. This pushes the magical and exploring spirit we wanted to create with a node-based potion crafting system. As with the Compost UI, the potion crafting UI has Helio as a helper sitting at the bottom of the screen. If you have a more specific question, you can check for an answer in Helio's FAQs. Number 5. Herbit Expedition Management. The Herbit Expedition Management system is used as another form of resource transformator, like the Compost or trading system, for specific quest items and seeds. We tried out a traditional seed machine for the seed transformation part, but we, like with the first basic potion crafting concepts, didn't really like its low interaction value and click dumminess. So when we introduced the garden Herbit into the game, who roams your garden, checks on your crops, gives quests and gardening tips, we came up with the idea of having a permanent settlement of other Herbits on the island too. These function as contractors who will sail to other islands of your archipelago in return for garden yields and bring back seeds or other items. This also filled a vacant space we still had in our game since the first couple of scope reductions. Originally, Golembert was planned to be able to sail to other islands themselves to trade/collect non-domestic seeds and items there. But because that included the production of way too many assets and characters, we only focus on Golembert's island. So if you've built the Herbit settlement, which is our garden Herbit quest, you can right click it and get a drop-down menu like when clicking other NPCs. The Herbit settlement part displays, or rather will display, this part is still all placeholder assets, the buildings of the settlement. You can help the Herbits build up their settlement and get expedition boni through that, like access to further away islands, faster expedition speed, or a higher expedition return. So it's more of a visual feedback screen that directly displays your investment progress. The Herbit map of your archipelago, on the other hand, functions more like the potion map. It too has potion craft node-like islands you can click on to see the costs and returns of an expedition to that island, as well as how many expedition teams are currently available. But islands are not connected to another to restrict you from accessing them, but are organized in concentric rings around the islands that are accessible on start. You can unlock rings by upgrading the Herbit settlement. If you invest the cost of an expedition, the start button gets clickable. The Herbits will then sail to the target island, get your stuff and return. You can see how much time that will take by clicking on them on the map after they departed. Once a team has returned, its return is indicated by an UI element on the map and over the Herbit settlement. Summed up, the Herbit Expedition Management system incorporates more scheduling, timing and resource management than a simple seed transformator or trading system would, while still being a casual interaction. Like with all other in-game mechanics so far, if you have any questions while playing, you can look into the Garden Herbit's FAQs for an answer. Number 6. Trading/bartering. We wanted our trading system to be moneyless. Therefore, every item has a value, kind of like a price tag, but this value can differ from trade partner to trade partner because it is influenced by the list of wanted or unwanted items. Wanted items have a higher value than usual, unwanted items have almost no value. That encourages players to circle trade. To get item number 1, you can first sell item number 2 to NPC A for item number 3, to get item number 1 from NPC B at a lower price because they wanted item number 3. Because of this concept, the trading UI is a bit confusing at first glance, but makes a lot of sense when you use it. When you click items in your inventory, they are put into the sell basket. If you click items from your trade partner's inventory, they are put into the buy basket. Each sell and buy basket have a general value made up from all item values in it, influenced by the daily changing wanted and unwanted item lists of the trading NPC. These general basket values generate a trade balance. If it's negative, you cannot trade, if it's positive, you can. Trading NPCs do also have different shops with different or higher tier items. Their base shop is always unlocked. The other shops can be unlocked via item investment. If you have any questions about trading while playing our game, you can look into Millie's FAQs for an answer. Bonus mechanic number 7, the Wiki. Not sure if this counts as a mechanic, but I'll quickly show it off anyway. Golembert has an in-game wiki. Though it is not as complex as a browser-based wiki can be, it is still better than the Civilopedia, the in-game wiki for Civ games. It's bad. The wiki is organized in different categories. Per category, there can be multiple subcategories to choose from to pre-filter your results. There is a back button, so you can easily go back if you want to be monkey. Items are also linked to their entries, so you can cross-jump between pages a little. Just wanted to show that off to you. And these are already all of our main mechanics. Though they are still genre appropriate, I think they are mostly reiterated and implemented in a way that makes them feel fresh and thought through, or at least thought-provoking. I often feel weird because of the discrepancy between making a farming game while rethinking it in a way that it isn't a pure farming game anymore. That's why we call it a gardening game. But I hope and somewhat know that there are people out there that are happy that we try to bring a slight change of the genre to the table. If you are one of them, then maybe consider wishlisting our game on Steam and/or follow us on social media so you don't miss any updates. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will now drink a huge glass of water. Maybe you should do the same. Bye!